Hey guys, it's Judy from Nutrition with Judy. I hope you guys had a good week. So this week we have a very special person on. We have Meet Molly, who is a pregnant carnivore. I get so many questions about if it's safe to do keto while you're pregnant, if it's safe to do carnivore while you're pregnant, and even if it's safe to breastfeed on carnivore or keto. The short answer is yes, especially if you're eating enough meats. I definitely recommend not fasting while you are pregnant. Your body is naturally going to be in a higher state of insulin because that's basically allows you to grow, right? Grow your baby. And so you do not want your insulin to drop. I have been breastfeeding my younger son for about 2 years on carnivore now and maybe a little bit longer on keto, but I've never been pregnant on carnivore or keto. So it's exciting to have Molly on and have her share her story about how it is to be on carnivore and keto and how different it is, as well as what she did about the glucose test. Hey guys, I am very excited to be with Meet Molly today. We are going to talk about all things pregnancy, how it is to be carnivore and be pregnant. So welcome to the show, Molly.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for joining me. So, if for those of the people that are watching that don't know you, if you can introduce yourself, tell a little bit about your story and your journey.
Well, my name's Molly. I pretty much started this journey off wanting to just mainly lose weight. I've struggled with my weight my entire life ever since, as long as I can remember. I think third grade was when I first started having thoughts of, wanting to lose weight.
Right.
It all kind of started though once I turned about 19 or 20 was when I kind of started getting sick.
Okay.
So I was diagnosed with psoriasis and I didn't really think anything too much
Mhm.
of it to where like, oh, I feel like I'm sick. My grandpa had it, so I was just like, oh, this is just hereditary. This is just something that I'm gonna get.
Sure.
And I got it on the backs of my ears and on my scalp, and that's where it started. And then it started progressing and it started spreading on my legs, and then I started getting it on my stomach, and it started getting really bad on my face and
Hmm.
around my hairline. So that I didn't like that much because I was really into makeup at the time. So, your skin's all flaking off and, you're self-conscious about it and all that stuff. So it just was not a fun time for me. But everything really got bad. And what motivated me to really change was after my wedding, I was 27 years old. I was my heaviest I'd ever been, which was 291 pounds.
Okay.
And I got a rash all over my arms and
Ooh.
it burned and it itched. And I started getting pains in my arms where it felt like my arms were like in a vice and I was just trying to rip them off of my body. So I'm not somebody who likes going to the doctor or
Mhm.
taking medications or anything. So I was just like, but this was bad. So I was like, I have to go to the doctor. So I ended up being diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis.
Oh,
And when they told me that, and then they put me on steroids, and then after stepping on the scale there, it was just, I already had it in my head that this was it. I cannot live this way much longer. So from that moment, I had already heard about keto then.
okay.
So right after that appointment, I went and me and my husband went to lunch and I had a bunless hamburger and a side salad
Mhm.
instead of French fries. And I never looked back at that point. And so I had been keto for 8 months and my psoriasis did get better. It didn't
Okay.
clear up completely, but it did get better. So it didn't clear up completely until I went carnivore.
Gotcha. Okay. So on carnivore, it cleared completely.
Yeah, it's probably about 98% cleared. I have like a small spot sometimes on my leg, like I'll have like a tiny flare up sometimes, but
Okay.
it's cleared for the most part.
And then how long did it take for you to be on carnivore for it to clear up?
And it actually took a while. Like, you hear a lot of people like they heal pretty quickly. And I thought I would have a pretty quick healing just because I had been keto and already cut out most of the bad stuff anyways.
Right.
But it took a while. So I think too, like I had a lot more healing to do than I initially knew that I needed.
Sure.
So it took probably, I mean, I've been carnivore for maybe 17 months now. So it probably took, I want to say about like 14 months of being on carnivore for it to completely go away.
Wow, that's good information because a lot of people complain about skin issues, and I think it's one of the slowest healing components of the carnivore diet. I think it's I just posted about this today, but it's a lot has to do with your gut health, and so one of the first signs of any sort of sickness in the body is through your skin. And so when you go carnivore, yes, you may lose weight and your insulin may drop because you're not eating glucose and all that stuff, but when it comes to skin allergies and skin illness, that'll probably take the longest to show because it's an indicator when your skin is so good that you're probably much healthier inside. And so I think your story makes so much sense as to why it took a little bit longer than like say, lowering your diabetes numbers, your blood sugar numbers. And I actually get a lot of private messages saying, I've been carnivore for 6 months now. I've been eating clean for 3 months. Why is my eczema not going away? Or why is my psoriasis still flaring up? And I mean, I think it's one of the illnesses that take a little bit more time. I think it can heal, right? And I think it's great. I think it's great that your journey, especially yours was a little bit more severe, and it shows that you can heal it, right? So in the meantime of when you were diagnosed with psoriasis and then your marriage, I think that was an 8-year gap. How did you take care of yourself during that time? Like in terms of diet, did you use like steroids during that time? Like what did you use to sort of, I mean, that's still a long period that you didn't change your diet completely.
Yeah.
So what did you do during that time?
So they gave me like creams and stuff to put on, like the higher dose cortisone cream, but like I said, I never really liked going to the doctor, and like I think with it being behind my ears, like from the beginning, it was more of like out of sight, out of mind, to where like I didn't really pay attention to it, and I didn't really see it as being like something that like was harming me at all. Like it's just I just have bad skin. That's just what I thought of it. Like I didn't think that it was doing any damage or anything like that. So I never changed. I knew that if you changed your diet, that it could help it. But like, things that I looked up, like a lot of people were just like, no, you don't need to do that. Like, you don't have to change your diet and all this stuff. So I wasn't at that breaking point pretty much.
Got it. Okay.
To want to change it.
Okay. Do you know what maybe caused your psoriasis to develop more seriously into psoriatic arthritis?
I didn't find out any information like that. I personally think my oldest sister, she has celiac disease.
Oh, okay.
So I never went and got tested to see if I had that or not. But once I cut out gluten and all that stuff, like that's when it really started getting better. Because I kind of had some symptoms that my sister had of celiac, where she had really bad heartburn, and I have had heartburn since I was like 23 years old and had to carry Tums in my purse.
Yeah.
And so like I had things like that, but I never was they never really like told me like, oh, this is why you have that, like why you got that.
Yeah, and there's certain people that have celiac disease, so they need to get off gluten. But I think there's like studies done, and I'll link to it in our notes. But gluten, the protein is so difficult to digest. It's pretty much harmful for anyone to be eating. So, I mean, I can see why you felt benefits and reliefs, even if you're not celiac disease. In terms of any other healing, so was it just primarily psoriasis and the healing of that when going carnivore, or was there any other benefits other than the weight loss too?
There's actually lots of stuff that I didn't think was ever like something that would be curable.
Okay.
Like, and people, I mean, everybody knows, like when you go carnivore, like you don't know how bad you felt until you feel so good.
Yeah.
So I no longer have seasonal allergies.
Oh, awesome.
I don't have, plaque buildup on my teeth. I no longer have back pain.
Oh, okay.
And being so young, you're like, why am I having all these problems? Heartburn. Like I said, I had to carry Tums in my purse.
Right.
That went right away. Your moods get so much better. Your anxiety is no longer like, I've had occasional panic attacks, and like, I can't remember the last time I had one. And,
That's awesome.
periods get better, all kinds of stuff gets better that like you think is normal. And
Sure.
because everybody had everybody has PMS during their period. Like it's so made out to be the super normal thing. And then once it goes away, you're like, maybe that wasn't very normal
Exactly.
to have all that stuff.
You've done carnivore for over a year. That's really good. So is it all these benefits that allow you to stick to carnivore? Like, what is it that allows you to stay carnivore?
I think the benefits is like the main thing. But the simplicity of it, like you don't have to think about it at all. You don't have to meal plan. You don't have to make huge, grocery shopping lists. You don't have to spend so much time in the grocery store. Like you go get a pack of steaks and you're done.
No,
Like
that's so true.
and you don't even have to think about dinner. Like it's what do you want, a steak or hamburger patties? Like that's usually the conversation me and my husband have is, what do you want tonight, hamburgers or steak? And usually they both sound good. So
Yeah.
I'll go either way.
So is your husband a carnivore as well then?
Yes.
Okay.
So when I started, he started with me.
Oh, that's so awesome.
He wasn't keto before or anything, so he was a little
He wasn't.
hesitant. No, he was a little hesitant to start, but after he's seen like, all my weight loss and, stuff getting better, he was like, okay, I guess I'll do it with you. But he went to it like a fish to water. Like he loved it just as much.
Awesome.
So it's great that we're both on the same page and we're able to do it together and be each other's support system.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've spoken to several people where the couple is not in sync, and so there's a lot of strife there because of that. I mean, especially when it comes to feeding your children, then you start having stress of, well, I don't agree with the way you want to feed my kids, and so it's a very, very nice perk to be doing this together, and it allows you guys to stay motivated and to be committed because you guys are both doing it. So I know you guys are both preparing for your son who is coming February of 2020. So congratulations. Can you talk a little bit about your pregnancy? If you guys had any struggles getting pregnant prior to this pregnancy, if you could just talk a little bit about your journey.
So my pregnancy has been actually really easy. I don't know if it's because of diet or if I just pulled the lucky straw, but I have had no morning sickness. I've had no nausea, no food aversions, because I was really scared about that, being carnivore. And you hear all these women who are like, I have all these meat aversions. And I'm like, okay, that's all I eat. Like there would be nothing for me to eat because, I can't go back to eating carbs. I can't do that. But I was very scared about that. So I was very happy that I was able to continue to eat the way that I was eating. The first trimester was a little difficult. I had lots of fruit cravings.
Oh, interesting.
So,
Okay.
and you hear a lot of women in their first trimester, they have lots of carb cravings.
Mm-hmm.
So my theory on that is, ancestrally, we want to gain weight to carry our baby full term. And carbs and fruit are quick ways to gain weight. So I feel like it's ancestrally appropriate to crave things like that. Like your body's smart and knows what it needs. So I gave in a little bit to the fruit, but for the most part, I haven't really, gone crazy with my cravings. And I figured, craving fruit is a lot better than craving Snickers. So
yeah,
I'm okay with that.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty good. I've heard of a few people that were kind of keto-ish carnivore, and then once they got pregnant, they completely fell off because I think their cravings really kicked in. I wonder if it's because you were fully carnivore versus them being more keto. And, having a little bit of glucose in your system will probably drive that craving. your theory on the ancestral, that makes a lot of sense. It is true that glucose will spike your, the energy. It gives you that instant energy, so it makes complete sense. I also think it's as you are growing, you have a lot more IGF in your body. You have a lot more insulin, and it's normal during pregnancy because you need to grow as fast as your body can handle raising a baby. I mean, growing a baby inside you. And so insulin will be higher. So that can also lead to hunger cravings. And then, that will obviously, what's a quick way to get energy, like you said, is sugar. So it makes sense. That's awesome that you didn't really have any nausea. And I mean, it gets pretty bad. So I know for me, and I ate the standard American diet on my pregnancy because I didn't know any better. But so sometimes your nausea gets so bad that the only way you'll feel better is by constantly eating. And so you constantly eat. And that's why a lot of people gain so much weight during their first trimester, because the only times they feel better is when they eat. And then when they stop eating, as soon as they stop, they feel sick. So it's just like, perpetual cycle. And it's pretty awesome that you didn't feel that.
Yeah. I was hoping that with, eating the way that I did, that I would kind of not get those cravings. But like I said, I feel like it's kind of ancestrally appropriate to get those cravings of course, in the beginning.
It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Because you have to also remember that our bodies, we produce a little bit of glucose that we need for certain parts of our body that will only survive off glucose. So, I mean, it could all be those factors. So was there any other changes in your diet since you've been pregnant?
It hasn't changed much. It's more of just I've added like a few things. So, sometimes I'll have like mushrooms on top of my steak, or I'll have tomatoes and avocado with my bowl of ground beef. Like, it's not, I haven't taken my focus off of meat. Like, meat is still my main focus. It's more of just like I've added a few little things.
Sure.
But the only time that I haven't had any like, bad reactions to anything yet, except for I did try to have a salad before my I had a prime rib, and I was like, I'm gonna have a salad before. It sounds good.
Yeah.
And that, I never thought that salad would ever hurt me, but I had the worst stomach pains from eating a salad. I was just like, okay, me and vegetables aren't friends anymore.
Yeah, that's so funny. I went through the same thing. I mean, not when I was pregnant, but I was carnivore for a long period. And then I think 6 months in, I decided, okay, I'll have a spinach salad. And I got like, I was super bloated. I felt like the sweats, and it was just, it's now that you know how you feel on carnivore, I don't think you could ever go back to salad because it really wrecks your system. And I think in terms of you adding a few like fruits and that stuff, I think the reason why you don't feel that sick or anything is because, well, one, I think your body can handle it, right? So now that your gut is probably a lot stronger, you can add a little bit of fruit and vegetables and it's not that bad for you. It's just when you eat like a main item as salad that you could probably feel the adverse effects.
Yeah.
So in terms of food, so I know you said you ate steaks and ground beef. Is there anything else you eat? And then what's your typical like day of eating look like?
I mainly just stick to beef. Okay. There'll be occasions where like, I'll crave chicken wings, but I more feel like it's like more of like the skin of the chicken, because I love crispy chicken wings. Yeah. So like it's more of like that's what I want. It's not necessarily that I want chicken. And sometimes I'll crave, pork ribs and stuff like that, but I mainly just eat beef. Like I have to have a ribeye every day.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then do you do dairy and eggs?
I do a little bit. So eggs. I actually have 23 chickens. So I have a ton of eggs.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have fresh eggs all the time. I don't eat them. Awesome. I give them away more than I eat them, but I do eat quite a few eggs.
Oh, that's awesome.
Dairy, I don't go crazy with dairy, because I do like, if you don't eat a lot of dairy and then you eat a ton of dairy, it messes with you. So I've noticed that, I can only handle like a slice of cheese on my hamburger patty or something like that, but I don't do dairy like super excessively.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. I cut out dairy for 5 months and then I had a little bit, I don't remember why I did, but, and then I noticed within a month I started breaking out a little bit and I felt a lot more bloat than I ever did. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. I mean, some people do really well with it, but you know, it's all balance, I think. So
Hmm.
since you've been pregnant, do you eat more than, do you consume more meat than you did before you were pregnant?
In the beginning, I felt like I had to. So I was like, I need to be eating constantly. Like I
Mhm.
can't be skipping meals, nothing. Like I should just be constantly eating. Like my baby needs that.
Yeah.
But after a while, I feel like my body is such in a routine that because I only eat 2 meals a day, and I feel like my body was such in a routine that it was just too much. So
Sure.
I kind of went back to just my regular 2 meals a day. I don't feel like
Yeah.
it's a ton more, but
Hmm.
I don't leave any of the fat left of my steak. Like before I would leave like, I'm full. I don't want to finish, the rest of the fat off my
Uh,
steak, but now I'll finish it. But I don't feel like, I need to eat like 2 steaks now or something.
sure. Okay. Okay. Well, that's good. So you typically eat two big meals a day.
Yeah.
Did you fast at all prior to being pregnant?
Just naturally,
Okay.
I never eat breakfast, so I would go until about 2 o'clock, and that's when my, normal lunch is. So yeah, it was just
Okay.
more
Oh,
like
that
a
makes sense.
natural fast, and I still feel like I kind of do that where I like just naturally, I'm just not hungry. I mean, if I was hungry, I would eat. I'm not gonna, deprive myself of not eating, but um,
Right. Right. No, that's
this
good. That's
morning,
good. Go ahead.
this morning I did eat breakfast, so because I did wake up a little hungry, so I'm not gonna keep myself from eating. So obviously, my hunger signals are trying to tell me that I need something.
Sure. So then I'm assuming you don't count calories or anything?
No, I've never
Okay.
counted. I
Oh,
think if
that's awesome.
I wouldn't do this.
Yeah, I hated that about keto, like trying to get in that like 70-30 or 70-25-5 window. Did you count macros while you were doing keto?
In the beginning, I tried
Okay.
to. So
Okay.
I was like, I have had this plan, like, this is what I was going to do. I was going
Mhm.
to do keto. I had my meals all planned, and I was like, okay, I went over on protein. I need to recalculate this. And it took me so long with
Yeah.
obsessing with that, it took me so long to get started just because I was so worried about these macros. And then finally I was just
Right.
like, I'm not doing this. I'm just going to focus on eating real food, focus on eating a bunch of fat, and just be done with counting macros. And that it worked for me to not have to obsess about it.
Right. So did you move from keto to carnivore because of the psoriasis, or did you move also because like of a weight stall or something like that? Or I mean, even the
It
annoyance of counting macros?
it was a weight stall in the beginning. I
Oh,
didn't I didn't really know all the benefits of
okay. Mhm.
carnivore right away. Um,
Sure.
so I had been keto for about 8 months, and then I had lost 50 pounds, and then I had stalled for
Wow.
about 2 months. And
Okay.
then I saw Sean Baker on the Joe Rogan podcast, and I had watched that YouTube video, and then I was like, okay, like I think I could do that. Like, I'm good with eating a steak all the time because on
Right.
keto, you're told you can't have, you don't go over on your protein. It's going to turn into sugar in your body and all that stuff.
Yep.
So like I never really, I was more focused on eating a bunch of fat rather than eating a bunch of protein. So I was like, I think I can do that. So I just went to Costco, got a bunch of steaks, and then that's initially when I started. But after you see all the benefits that come from it, you're like, wow, I really didn't know that there was healing to be done. Like I didn't think that I had problems besides having psoriasis, but I didn't think that I had the problems that I had until they were gone
Yeah.
and they were no
Right.
longer a problem.
Right. So in terms of your doctor, so do you see an OBGYN and do you have you told him or her about your diet?
I do see an OBGYN. I have not discussed my diet, but
Oh, really?
I
Okay.
I thought I like in the beginning of my pregnancy, I was like, I'm gonna have to go in there guns blazing. Like, this is what I do. I'm not changing. I know this is good for me. I know this is good for my baby, but they've not talked to me at
They don't even
all
care.
about diet at all. So I'm just like, maybe I shouldn't bring it up.
Wow, yeah, that's interesting. So then did you take the glucose test, the glucose tolerance test?
So I think it was my second appointment. I saw
Hmm.
a nurse practitioner, and that's the only person so far that I have discussed diet slightly with.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I still have visible weight that I need to lose. And
Hmm.
so when I went into the appointment, I felt like she kind of stereotyped me right off the bat, like, oh, you're overweight, you
Hmm.
probably have uh, gestational diabetes or diabetes and
Oh,
you just
wow.
don't know, or
Hmm.
something like that. So right away, I was only 8 weeks pregnant, and she was like, you need to do the glucose test. And I was just like, no, I don't want to do that. And she kind
Right.
of was just like, giving me like the evil eye, like, no, you're gonna have to do this anyways, like you need to do this. And I was like, well, that's when I was like, well, I don't eat sugar, and I was like, and I barely eat carbs. And then that's when
Okay.
it started, like, oh, you can't do that, you need to eat carbs for your baby, all this stuff. And like in my head I'm just like, but I was just like, yes, okay, okay, like just nodding my head in agreement or
Sure.
whatever. And then I had told her that I do keto. Like, I don't know how my body's going to react to having all that sugar. Like, I haven't had a soda in 2 years. Like, and now I'm
Hmm.
coming to the doctors and you want me to drink this soda. And she was, just hell bent on making me do it. And she said, with you not eating sugar, you'll pass it just fine. But I know in the keto and carnivore community that a lot of women don't pass it. So I was just like, oh God, I'm not going to pass this. And then I'm going to have to do it again. And I don't want to have to drink that stuff twice and, all
Hmm.
this stuff. But she kind of guilt tripped me into doing it. And
Hmm.
then she said, she was asking me, well, do you have diabetes in your family? I said, yes, I have diabetes on both sides of my family. So she was like, you're at high risk. And then she threw at me because I'm Hispanic, and Hispanic people, it's a lot of Hispanic people have diabetes in their family. So then I was just like, okay, maybe I should do this. And even though I didn't want to, and she was just like, you'll be fine. So I ended up doing it. Thankfully, I passed. But
Oh, okay.
this last appointment, they want me to do it, and I said I
Again?
can't do it. I cannot do it
Okay.
again. It made me feel super nauseous, and I
Yeah,
was
I was gonna
very
ask you, how did
jittery.
you feel? Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
did not feel good. And like I told my husband, I was like, you have to have my back when we go into this appointment. If they try to get me to do this, I'm not doing this again. And so he was even chiming in saying she did not feel good and all this stuff. And then she said, well, oh, well, we can prescribe you a nausea medication. And I'm just like, before you take it. And I'm just like, that's not the problem. Like,
Right.
that's not
Right.
the reason why I don't want to take it. Like, my body does not agree with it. And I kind of have like a feeling where it's like, if I was an alcoholic, would you
Hmm.
test to see if I'm an alcoholic by giving me alcohol? Like, I'm a
No, that's good.
recovering I'm a recovering sugar addict. Like, I not a, I've cured my addiction to sugar, and now you want to give me
Hmm.
the sugar. And then I thought too, maybe that's where my carb cravings came from, because I haven't had sugar in so
Hmm.
long, and then I had all this sugar, and then my body's like, hey, like, we want some more of that. Going back to how I
Yeah.
used to be chugging water, like just trying to flush it out as quickly as possible. And we made sure to take the stairs so I could like burn it off. Like, I was just like,
Yeah.
I want this gone and out.
Yeah.
So that day I felt bad, but like I didn't have any reactions to it afterwards.
Yeah, it's so sad how our medical system, they just follow protocol, and the nurses even I've worked with, they're pretty pushy. And so if you kind of decline standard care, then they kind of jump on you even more. And it's weird because if you're trying to eat healthier and since it's kind of against the grain, they'll kind of push harder. But then when you're eating McDonald's or eating, unhealthy foods, they don't really say much about that, right? So
Yeah.
it's just unfortunate. And so if you know that you should probably not take the glucose, because I mean, one, most of the fetuses the glucose goes to your fetus, but the insulin doesn't. So your baby's body has to create its own insulin to shovel out that glucose. So imagine like your baby's so used to you barely consuming glucose, and then all of a sudden I think it's like, I forget how much it is. Maybe it's 200 milligrams. I don't remember, but whatever amount it is, a lot of that's going to your baby, and your baby's probably in shock with all that, right? So
Yeah.
maybe if you have that mindset when you go in and think, hey, like I'm not going to do that to my baby, so I don't care what you say. No, the answer is no. Maybe not for me. Maybe I'm like kind of scared of you as a nurse, but for my baby, I'm saying no. And so
Yeah.
just, maybe do that, or yeah, bring your husband. But I don't think it's if anything, what you can say to your nurse is you can say that, hey, I'll check my glucose with the glucose meter, and then I can show you an average of a week of how my sugar is, and so I don't need to take this test.
I actually
That's a way.
offered to do that.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I said, I don't want to take this test. I'll do, give me a blood sugar monitor. I will monitor my blood sugars for you.
Mm-hmm.
And she told me that that's not the information they're looking for, which I thought was kind of strange. Like you're testing me off one test, and it's something that I don't consume at all in a high dose. And here I'm going to be giving you multiple readings for multiple days on stuff that I'm actually consuming. I feel like that's more of an accurate description of what my blood sugar is doing. So I didn't really understand when she said that. And it's like, you try not to be like, pardon my French, but a smart ass when you go in there.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, okay, like that makes more sense to me to just, I'm giving you more test results than just your one test result.
Yeah, no, and you're absolutely right. So the reason why they give that glucose tolerance test is to see how does your body react when you eat glucose, and then how does the insulin come. And because when you're pregnant, if you have, I guess, like a little bit of signs of pre-diabetes, it'll get worse in just when you're pregnant. And so they're just trying to see how does your body react when you consume glucose. And so that glucose tolerance test is giving a lot more glucose in one sitting. And, because it's liquid, it'll even absorb even faster. And so it's just a test to see how does your body react to glucose. And so the way you did it is actually a better measure. But to me, it's clear that she doesn't really know why they're doing that or what she's doing. I think it's, again, she's just trying to follow protocol. And it's really unfortunate because, that liquid sugar water is not good for you, especially when you don't consume glucose. So, So when are you going to see her?
I go back to the doctor in November. So that will be my next appointment.
Okay. And she wants you to do it then?
Yeah. So
okay. Yeah, you should give us an update
with my guns blazing then that I'm not going to take this test. Because even if I did happen to have gestational diabetes, I'm still eating a diet that would manage it. So
yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. They just want to give you medication too.
Yeah, I am not worried about it at all.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you should update us, whether it's like on your Instagram or something of like how your doctor visit went, and if you took the test or not. So once you have your baby, do you plan on nursing? Eventually as your baby, and this might be far away, so you're not even thinking about it, but do you plan on feeding your kid like primarily meat, or have you thought about this at all?
Yeah, me and my husband have discussed it because I'm like, childbirth does not scare me. Like I'm not worried about giving birth or anything. What I'm most worried about is other people feeding my child. And I never thought that I would be like a stickler like that where, I'm going to be that mom that like, hey, don't give that to my kid. Like he doesn't need that cookie or whatever. But in a perfect world, I would love to keep him in a bubble and not let have any of that stuff. But I also don't want him to feel like he's not normal. And, he can't do the stuff that other kids are doing. So I do plan on breastfeeding him. Me and my husband have discussed it. We'll probably keep him pretty much keto. And, we looked into the baby-led weaning method and all that stuff. So he'll probably pretty much eat what we're eating. So meat will be his, I'll focus mostly on the meat and the protein and the fat and that stuff. But I'm not going to keep him from not eating vegetables. But if he doesn't want them, I'm not going to force him to eat them. And I've already talked about like his first birthday. I'm like, are we gonna like, do I make him a cake, like, or do we give him like a steak for his birthday? Like, I'm already thinking about that stuff. And my husband's like, we'll just make him a keto cake, and if he wants cookies, I'll make him keto cookies. And I want him to feel like he's a part of what all the other kids are doing. And
Yeah.
as much as I would love
No,
to
I
be that mom that keeps him safe forever, but you can't do
yeah, it's
that.
not reality. Yeah, it's not reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think it's so amazing for your child to, I mean, he's not even born yet, to already have a future that's setting him up for success. I mean, if you fuel his brain with like good proteins and fats and less, sugar, it's going to just make him that much stronger and smarter and all that stuff. And in
Yeah.
terms of the whole balance, like mentally and fitting in, I totally understand that. So I struggled with disordered eating at one point, and so I make sure, and I'm very cognizant of that. So when my kids feel sort of different, I always try to talk to them, because you don't want them to feel weird and then, or different, and then leave home and then, I don't know, like go on a binge fest like in college or something. So
Yeah.
I try to educate them through nutrition, and then have a little bit of wiggle room too for life, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
like you said, I would not say, oh, you have to eat steak for your birthday, but then I would add like more keto friendly cookies, or even items that are just lower in sugar but are more natural. So
Yeah.
I think that's a good approach. I mean, not everyone agrees with what we're saying, but to each their own. Because I have a background with, the whole like relationship with food is kind of weird. I don't want my kids to have that either. So I'm just,
Yeah.
I think what you guys are doing is great, and it's so amazing that he's not even born yet and you guys are already
Yeah.
planning like foods that'll be at his 1 year birthday. That's
Yeah.
that's him.
I
He's
think
lucky
leading
to
by
have you guys as
example
parents.
helps too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, he's blessed to have you guys as his parents. I mean,
Yeah.
he will be much more physically stronger, and then be able to handle life so much better than, unfortunately, kids that are on the standard American diet. In terms of weight gain, so, as we're talking about mental health, obviously we gain weight as being pregnant. How have you handled that? Has that been kind of like messing you up at all in your mind? Like, how's that been?
In the beginning, it did. It was hard for me to accept at first, just because I've been in a state for so long that all I wanted to do was lose weight. And then when I finally got the scale going down, and then now it's like, like pump the brakes, like, you're done with that now. Like that can't be your focus anymore. So in the beginning,
Yeah.
like I was very obsessive. Like every day I was stepping on the scale to see like, hey, is it like, am I gaining weight yet? Like, or am I still good, or still where I was before? But so far I've only gained about 6 or 7 pounds, and I'm five
Okay.
months pregnant. So I feel like I'm doing pretty good. Um, I'm not really eating any food that would cause me to gain an excessive amount of weight anyway. So I don't, I've come to terms that it's all for my baby. It's just him. He needs this. He doesn't need me to focus on, dieting or anything. I just need to eat and nourish him. Even though the one of the doctors that I've seen, she kind of had a problem with me gaining that much weight so far, which I feel is
Oh, okay.
not okay to do to a pregnant woman. I feel like as women,
Yeah,
we're already
absolutely.
vulnerable. We're already vulnerable about our weight. Society tells us like we have to, look a certain way, be a certain way. A lot of women do already have bad self-image and all that stuff. So I feel like it's very toxic to tell, especially a pregnant woman, that like it's not okay that she's gaining weight. And I'm just like, I'm growing a human. Like I don't
Yeah.
I don't know what you want from me. Like my body's, even if I had gained 20 pounds so far, like I feel like my body's gonna do whatever it needs to do to grow a human. And I kind of have like an attitude when I go in there, like, if I was skinny, would you still be telling me this?
Yeah.
Like, if like I was like a super fit woman, like, would you still have a problem with me gaining that much weight? Probably not.
Seven
I
pounds seems so small to me. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, no, I think the average person gains about 25 to 30 pounds, and that's lately I think it's actually on the lower end. So when you're 5 months pregnant and you've only gained 6 or 7 pounds, that is not much. And so I can't believe that they were saying that to you. I'm
Yeah, and
shocked.
I'm in a couple like keto pregnancy groups,
Mhm.
just to be in there and see what other moms are doing.
Yeah.
And there's other moms that are like, I'm 22 weeks and I've gained 25 pounds, and I'm just like, okay, like I think I'm doing pretty good. Like, not
Yeah,
that I
yeah,
want to
no.
shame that mom for gaining
Right.
25 pounds. I feel like everybody's different. We're all going to do what
Mhm.
we have to do. Because I had wrote a post about it on my Instagram, and there was women that were reaching out to me that were just like, oh my God, this is what I needed to hear. I hated that in my pregnancy, that they had such a problem with me gaining weight. And I'm just like, one lady was like, I was super fit, I exercised, I watched my diet, and I still ended up gaining 70 pounds. And I'm just like, see, we're not all the same. Like, we can't be put into a mold of thinking that oh, this is your body mass index, and you can only gain 15 to 25 pounds. That's it. You're like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
do whatever I got to do to your focus should be on nutrition. And
Right.
it shouldn't be about my weight. It should be, am I nourishing my baby? Is my baby developing okay? Is everything going good? Like, I feel good. I haven't had any, I was telling my mom, like, I don't know why people complain about pregnancy. Like, this is so easy so far. And she's like, hold
Yeah,
your
I gotta
tongue,
talk to
because
you.
you don't know about the next one. Then the next one could be horrible. But
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I definitely want to talk to you and keep in touch and hear how your second pregnancy goes, and also after
yeah.
labor. I think that's a
Hmm.
pretty gnarly experience. In terms of how much you eat in a day, so how many pounds of meat do you typically eat in a day?
I've never really weighed it, but I'm gonna say that
Okay,
I probably eat around 2 pounds.
okay, that's good. So in terms of getting pregnant, did you have any issues with pregnancy prior to the diet? And I don't think so, but I mean, I'm just gonna ask you.
It did actually take me and my husband 17 months to get pregnant.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay,
um, I initially thought that it was me because I had been overweight for so long, and then
hmm
doing more research into, the way that I was eating, and, hearing other
hmm
women talking about how, damage and all this stuff that, you do when you're overweight and all this stuff. But I had also been on birth control for 5 years. So
Oh,
I thought
okay.
I just completely wrecked everything. And being overweight for so long, and then being on a hormonal drug for that long, I just thought that I I ruined it. I can't have children. But we started testing after a year of trying, and
Oh,
I think it's called an HSG, where they do the X-ray of all your area to see if everything's good, no blockage or anything, and everything came back
okay.
fine, and my blood work came back good. And except for my cholesterol, my total cholesterol, my doctor was not happy with, and she wanted to put me on a statin because I think it was 317 at the time. And I'm just
Okay.
like, lady, I need those hormones to grow this baby. Um,
That's good.
But my husband ended up getting testing done, and he had blood work done, and he had a semen analysis, and we found out that his testosterone was really low, and he only
Oh,
had
okay.
1% motility. So that was kind of like, okay, like, we found the problem. Now it's like, let's try to fix it. So they wanted to test him again, and they told him to take a multivitamin. Me and my husband are like, we don't take multivitamins. Like,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
eating
Okay.
like the best diet we possibly can for fertility. Like, there's all these people getting pregnant out of nowhere, even if they didn't want to be. I was like, I
Yeah.
think we're doing the right things for us. But I don't know if you've ever heard of Dr. Rob Kiltz. He's like the number one fertility
Mhm.
doctor in New York, and he is actually a big supporter of the keto diet. He
Okay.
actually
No.
promotes
Mhm.
kind of like his own version of carnivore. It's called the baby diet, so it stands for uh, beef, egg, bacon, butter, and ice cream. So he makes his own, like, a really high
Oh, I heard
ice
of him.
cream
Okay.
recipe. So I happened to catch one of his lives, and he answered my question. I was like, how can we boost my
Oh,
husband's fertility? So he suggested a motility supplement, and my husband, I was like, well, let's give this a try. This is what he's recommending. He's on our side where he supports what we're eating and all this stuff. So
Mhm.
let's just continue doing what we're doing, and then we'll try this supplement. So he took it for about a month, and within that month we were pregnant. So it
Wow, that is amazing.
thankful that it was something that simple, because nowadays, like, getting pregnant is very hard and it's
Yeah.
very expensive. And I just, if it would have been anything else, I don't think that we would have been where we are right now,
Mhm.
just because of the cost of it and all that stuff. But it is sad that it's become such a problem, like something so normal, like just,
Mhm.
when you're younger, I've had talks about this with other women, like when you're younger, you're doing all this stuff not to get pregnant, and then when it comes time to get pregnant, now it's like, okay, like, why this is way harder than they told me it was going to be. Like, they
Right,
said
right.
it would be like that, and it's not happening. So it's I think with him, his he wasn't doing carnivore or even keto long enough for him to heal. My husband's
Okay.
really skinny. Like, I never would consider him to be overweight. He's really
Okay.
skinny. He did end up losing like 46 pounds going carnivore.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Okay.
I think a lot of it was inflammation.
Mhm.
He has a big sweet tooth and loves candy and ice cream, and just ate whatever. So that's another thing. Like, I feel like, me being overweight, like, it was visible that there was something wrong. And with the psoriasis, it's visible that there's something wrong, but you can be skinny and not be okay. Like, you could be doing damage and stuff. So that's my theory, that I think that he just didn't have enough time to heal when we first started. But I think me starting when I did, because had already been like 2 years of me eating, a good diet. I think that really helped me to get to this point.
Yeah, and I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I have clients where, they've been on carnivore for a year and their gut is still not fully healed. And so then they add probiotics or antifungals or some other support, and it helps them tremendously. So like, one sign is they don't have as many loose stools, or they don't have any. And so I think it really depends on the individual. So it sounds like you've healed pretty much like everything just with the diet. And I think time really will allow you to heal. But, in our instant gratification society, we want healing now, right? Within
Mm.
3 months, even though we've eaten bad for like decades.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, I think that's why people look to supplements. I'm only a fan of supplements when it's okay in the beginning, if you want a catalyst to help you heal. But after that, I don't believe in the whole, add collagen to your steak. Like, I'm not a big
yeah,
fan of that. I just think your
yeah,
food should be sufficient, and you don't need anything unless you're trying to heal something that's kind of broken, but just quicker, right? I think over time our diet can heal a lot. And so it makes sense for your husband why that, I guess, whatever that pill was that helped him in that meantime. So I'm sure as he eats meat more, his testosterone should go up as well, because the hormones,
yeah,
they just take time to balance out.
yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense. For the people that are watching, what would be your recommendation in terms of diet, weight loss? A lot of people get frustrated that, hey, so and so has lost all the weight on carnivore within 5 months, within a year, and I'm still not at my thinnest, right? Or I have a stall, or is it even safe to be breastfeeding or pregnant on carnivore? Like, what would be your advice to sort of all those people?
I think for weight loss, it's kind of like what I said before. Like, you can't put yourself into a mold of comparing yourself. Like, it's not a one size fits all. Like, we're not all the same. We don't all have the same damage that we've done. Some of us have more healing to do than others. Some don't even realize, like, I didn't realize all the stuff that I could heal. So
Mm-hmm.
don't put a timeline on it. Just keep going. You'll get where you need to get. Even if the scale isn't moving, I've experienced this too, where I'm like, the scale's not moving. Take a picture. You look completely different. I have pictures where it's just a couple months difference, and I look
Mm-hmm.
like my face is thinner, like my shoulders are thinner. Like, it's looking at yourself every day. You don't really notice that stuff until you compare it to how you used to be, and you're like, wow, I am still changing, even if the scale doesn't change. Just like, if you put 5 people together and they all weighed the same, but they all could look completely different.
Oh
So
yeah,
just
absolutely.
try not to compare yourself to everybody. This person may have lost 100 pounds in under a year, but you haven't lost that much yet. But you got to look at it that you're still losing. You're still moving forward to being better. And then with pregnancy, I mean, you got to do what you feel is right for you. But if you feel good being carnivore, your baby's going to feel good being carnivore. Or if you feel good being keto, your baby's going to feel good being keto. Your baby's not a separate type of person. They're just a little person. So, you don't need carbs, your baby doesn't need carbs. As much as the doctors love to tell you that, their brain needs carbs and all this stuff, like your baby's not going to develop if you don't eat carbs. And it's like, okay, but I don't need carbs. Why? My baby's not a different type of human. Like, they're the same as
Yeah.
me. Like, they don't need carbs just as much as I don't need carbs. So if you feel good, your baby's going to feel good. I don't think it's good to drastically change your diet to, if you look at the diet that they give you in the little pamphlet that they gave me, it's nothing but carbs all day long. Like,
Yeah.
there's meat is at the bottom of the list on their list. So whole grains is the first one, and then fruits and vegetables, and then milk, and then protein is at the very bottom. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I would not do okay dramatically changing my diet to something where it's like I'm going to have oatmeal and toast and a banana for breakfast, and then have, nuts and a bagel for a snack, and then lunch, and, eating all that food all day long. I would not do okay with that. So you just have to do what's right for you, what you feel is right for you, what you feel is right for your baby, because at the end of the day, you're the one that's in charge of the outcome of that child. And, you have to do what you feel is right, no matter what somebody may say. It's up to you. And if you feel good doing it, then you should keep doing it.
Our standard American diet has way too much glucose that it makes us tired. That's why everyone has that 2 p.m., 3 p.m. like exhausted, exhaustion. And so we reach for
Mm-hmm.
sugar, we reach for coffee. And so, I mean, just think about the implication and impact it has on a unborn child. So I think, you're
Yeah.
making the really good decisions. I wish I was pregnant with carnivore and I had fed my kids that way. I always wonder, would my kids be that much healthier, right? So it's
Yeah.
interesting. And again, like your son is very lucky. In terms of your baby size, so did you has your doctor checked the size of your baby? Have you done any of those kind of ultrasounds to measure your baby?
They haven't told me any of that information yet. So I've had
Okay.
2 ultrasounds done now, where they're checking his development and his, his
Hmm.
lungs and his kidney and his heart and all that stuff. But just I can't blame my diet for this. It's just his parents, and he has stubborn parents. So of course he's a stubborn child, and they just can't get good enough pictures of him. So I've had to do that
Okay.
twice. And then they told me again that, okay, we still didn't get the pictures that we need. So now we're going to send you to, it's like a specialist where she knows the tricks. Like, she'll be able to get the pictures that we need. So I go back this month on the 14th to get those pictures taken. So they've already told me the 2 times with the 2 other ultrasounds that nothing looks abnormal. Everything looks good. These are just the pictures that they need. So on the 14th, after that ultrasound, I'm sure they'll give me more information on, how he's doing in the development, and, if my due date has changed, if, he's measuring bigger, if he's measuring smaller.
Sure.
Like, that's when we'll see all that information.
Uh,
And I'll definitely be posting and keeping everybody updated on all that.
okay, that's awesome. Have you met many, have you run into many carnivores that are pregnant?
Not in a day-to-day life, no. I mean, I've seen people like online and stuff. I've connected with a few women online, but not anybody locally, no.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Well, this has been really helpful. I think it's, I'm sure it's going to be eye-opening for some people that are considering carnivore when they're pregnant or with breastfeeding. If you can tell people where they can find you, if there's any other advice you want to give, feel free to share.
I'm really active on Instagram, so it's meet_Molly. I try to share as much as I can and, be transparent as possible, because you never know what somebody else is going through, and they might be going through the same thing, and it might be something, that they need to hear too. Yeah, so I'll be keeping everybody updated on everything and sharing as much as I can, and being really open about everything, because I know that I would, being in this situation too, like, I look to other women who have done this, like, people like Kelly Hogan, who's had
Yes.
3 carnivore pregnancies, and, I look to those people for advice. And so it's good to share and, be open, because, some people need, we need that information out there, and people need to know that there's better options than, just stuffing your face with McDonald's through your pregnancy. Like,
Yeah,
you could stuff a steak.
yeah, no, it's just interesting the way society works, right? So if you're overweight and you're eating a lot of bad foods, no one ever says anything, and then the minute you're just eating steaks or you're being very healthy, it's this concern of, oh, that's going to kill you. And it's just the irony of it all, right? It's just,
Yeah.
if anyone just does a little bit of research, there's so much nutrient density and bioavailability of the nutrients in meat. And then it really makes you wonder, like, why do we need all these other plant foods that are so hard to digest, and they don't even have near the nutritional values as meat does? So it's unfortunate. Hopefully, our movement is helping people to be more educated and more informed so that they eat the right foods and also help their offspring eat better too. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time. Like this, I hope it helps a lot of people that are pregnant. And again, if I was pregnant ever, I would have loved to be carnivore. So lucky you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. This was really fun. I will share everything, and we'll share a lot of the information in the notes, and we'll share where to find you and your Instagram page and everything. So thanks again, Molly. I will talk to you
Yeah.
soon.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
I hope you guys have a good week, and make sure to share this video with anyone that you know that's considering doing carnivore or keto, but they're pregnant, or they want to get pregnant and they're not sure if it's safe. All right, guys, I will talk to you guys next week. Have a good one, and make sure to eat a lot of meat. Make sure to eat some good bone broth and some organ meat, and make sure to take care of your body, because it is the only place you have to live. All right, guys, have a good one, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.